All right, let's try that again. Welcome, and this is JT with JT Invest in You. And for those of us that tuned in a few moments ago, there were just some technical difficulties. But of course, we are joined by the wonderful Chris Swenner and Sandeep from Reach here to introduce their product, HumbleSwap. So without further ado, let's just introduce them to the show. All right, here we are without any technical difficulties. So Chris and Sandeep, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. It's always a great time to talk to you, JT.
Yeah. Thanks, JD, for having us.
Of course, I appreciate it. And for anyone watching, please leave your questions or comments in the chat. We are certainly keeping an eye on those, and Chris has been making his rounds recently, so I'm determined to at least ask one or two questions he hasn't been asked before, so definitely help me out with that.
Bring it on, JT.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the easy one. So, a lot of people know Chris, but not a lot of people know you, Sandeep. So if we could start with you, maybe we can get a little bit of an introduction on who you are and how you how you onboarded to the Reach team.
Sure, yes. So I started my career in 2008 in IT, and 2014 when I first time heard about Bitcoin. So I'm into ecosystem for a while. I have worked at Circle. So when Circle launched USDC, I was part of that team. So that's there. And after that, in last 3 years, I have been doing consulting and advising to many digital asset startups. And I was a part of Wield and Co, Emergence Wield and Co. David Wield, very well-known name in finance sector. He was a Fathers of Jobs Act, and he was also vice chairman of NASDAQ. So under his umbrella, we had Emergence, which was investing into digital assets. So I was a contractor there too. And now I'm here at Reach, very happy to be here, and I'm head of Humble. So thanks for having us. Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Of course, thanks for coming on. And, a lot of people know you, Chris, but I also have some new viewers since we last spoke, and I'm sure the ecosystem is growing at a rapid rate. So why don't we just do a brief introduction for yourself as well?
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome, everybody new, and hello, everybody old. My name is Chris. I am the CEO and co-founder of Reach. My purpose for being is to actually make blockchain mainstream. I started on this journey full-time early 2017 with a first building a blockchain agnostic scaling solution. Realized I was too early because even though I thought scaling was the thing to fix back then, I kept seeing the same faces over and over and over again when I went to conferences or I talked to people, and that was like the light bulb going off. It's like, well, okay, if scaling was too early because there's not enough people here, well, maybe the problem is that there's not enough people here. So I partnered with my current co-founder, Dr. Jay McCarthy, to build a solution to bring the tens of millions of developers into the blockchain space. And to do that, we didn't need to make blockchain development incrementally better. We needed to actually answer the question of what does blockchain development look like if it's 100 times better. It took us around a year, maybe a little over a year, to build out the prototype of Reach. But we released the MVP of Reach in September of 2020, and since then we've now onboarded, I think we're probably pushing 4,900 developers, wow. Which, this is 4,900 developers building blockchain applications. And by the way, 4,900 might not sound like a lot to people that aren't in the blockchain space, but 4,900 developers in a little over a year is actually more than most blockchains themselves have building on the platform. So we've been pretty successful. We have a bunch of projects, like VC-backed projects in the Algorand ecosystem, building on Reach. Name a couple: Dequincy, X-backed, Zone, Zestbloom. I mean, Tiny Chart. There's quite a bit, and love them all. They're all like my children. But we've figured it out. We've figured out the solution to bring the tens of millions of developers into the space, so they can start building very innovative things. And we thought we'd like to play along and build innovative things ourselves, which is why we created Reach Labs. And Humble is the first product that will be launching out of Reach Labs.
Perfect. So that's a perfect segue to I don't know who exactly to direct this to. I'm sure both of you could answer it, but how about we start with Sandeep? What is HumbleSwap and what will set it apart from the rest of the competitors in its space?
Sure, yeah. So Humble is DeFi for everyone, and Humble is to making DeFi easier, accessible for everyone. Like your grandma can use it. And it is a decentralized, autonomous organization funding projects in the swaps ecosystem. Our first product is HumbleSwap, which is a decentralized exchange and AMM. And as Chris said earlier, it is built on using ReachLang, which is fastest and safest way to build decentralized applications. And I think what really sets us apart, first is user friendliness. We are like this product is really super simple to use. And second thing is the security feature of it. Just yesterday, actually, we got our audit report, and I mean, it is so good. I mean, there's like not even a low code error there. So we are so happy about it. It's really like when it comes to security, I think that's a very big feature and that sets us apart. And also, when we talk about decentralized finance and crypto ecosystem, we really don't see a lot of support there. I mean, it's not like you can go to customer support and you can get that help. And at Humble, as our brand is Humble, and we really want to make decentralized finance easier for everyone. So we are providing customer support, like human customer support, so that you can, it should be very simple for everyone. So that's like a very high level on, what Humble is. Yeah. Chris can add more on it.
Sorry, meant to star that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you're adding customer support is actually probably what sets it apart from a lot of other, not just AMMs, but really products in general in the space. I mean, even some of the centralized products, the customer service is pretty bad. I mean, I know a lot of us have used Coinbase before, and if anyone has a problem, it takes months to actually speak to somebody. So, that's a really
Right.
great feature.
Yeah, we're proud of that one, and it's weird to me that nobody else is doing it as well. It's not like it's a hard thing to do. I mean, obviously the support's not going to give you investment advice because that's what they're off air. But there's several people out there that just have the question of what happens when I push this button. So, being able to answer questions like that, but also just like what's the point of a swap? How does the swap work? And then, of course, as we roll out more products, which I'm sure you'll probably ask about, there'll be more questions around how those work as well.
Of course, I mean, there's going to be endless questions if it's a product that continues to evolve over the years as the market demands new products, really. So I did read on the HumbleSwap webpage, and you also brought up XBacked before, that XBacked will be a partner of HumbleSwap. In what way will the partnership work? Is it more of a financial partnership, or will there be some sort of teamwork or collaboration on a product between the two of you?
Well, that's a great question. And so Austin, one of the core contributors of XBacked, and I have been actually working very closely from the very beginning. And there's actually the partnerships are multiple different layers. Number one, Reach is actually an official advisor to XBacked. So we've been working with them directly to help them build the most secure, best product possible. And then also on the Humble side, they'll be placing liquidity pools and making sure that they take advantage of our AMM. And then as we release other features, I don't know if I can actually talk about the other features yet, but the other features that we'll be releasing, they will be taking advantage of those as well.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. I mean, collaboration.
Our roadmap is public. So yeah, that's you guys can go and check it out on our Twitter, our roadmap. Yeah.
Last I checked, it even looked like you could vote on certain aspects of it that were more important to you. Is that correct?
So it's another great question. So Humble is not ours.
Yeah.
Humble is not mine. Humble is ours. It's the network. So the whole idea is that we are launching this as a financial decentralized finance for everyone. And we don't mean it's going to be used by everyone. It's going to be owned by everyone. And just because it's owned by everybody, everybody will have a say through the DAO governance on how to spend the treasury, the direction that it needs to go, all of that. So yes, we are we are very big in the community, not because we want to serve the community, but because we are the community. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Now, if it's owned by everyone, as you say, will there be some sort of revenue sharing model with the community or the users of the platform?
Well, the SEC would get very mad at me if I said that the answer was yes to that. But the DAO gets to actually answer those questions of how it would work, and the DAO jurisdiction is everywhere. So I myself can't make this decision, but the DAO has all the power.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So
I don't want to go to prison. So
I mean, I do not want to force you to. So how will liquidity providers be rewarded? On Tinymint, I believe they get 0.25%, and on AlgoFi, their new DEX, they have a new system that they're testing out with 0.25%, and I believe a 0.75% liquidity provider fee. Is there a similar structure that you guys are looking at, or are you guys trying to do something different? What are you going to do to incentivize liquidity?
I'll take this first, and then Chris add more on this.
Perfect.
So first, the model is very similar. Liquidity provider will be earning fees, so that model is the same. On addition to that, we are working on our farming feature. So yes, liquidity provider, they can provide liquidity, and they can stake their tokens, and then they will be rewarded. And one thing I can say, of course, I can't speak more on that right now because that product is under development right at this moment, but they will be rewarded better or more than what they are getting rewarded on average. And we are also working on liquidity mining, and that is one of the product that will be very unique, and we don't see that's already in the market. So that would be another next product. And from here, I'll tell Chris. Chris can take it from here, and she can share more on that product.
Well, I'm sure people are wanting the more juicy information because, I'm more open with what I have to say. So this is alpha information, and just like any type of alpha information, it might not be the final information. So I hope you forgive me if we change things, but I prefer to be open with my thoughts because I want to make sure that people then provide feedback. Does that make sense to you, JT?
Of course it does.
Does it make sense to everybody like listening? We're good. You're not gonna get mad at me if I want to change something. But so as Sandeep was saying, is yes, of course there's going to be liquidity fees because you're going to be rewarded for providing liquidity. You need to be able to have liquidity for swaps to happen, and yes, there will be farming opportunities. But the truth is that's boring to me. What farming does is it incentivizes mercenaries. Incentivizes mercenaries to say, okay, I'm going to buy up this token, and I'm going to provide liquidity on this token, and I'm going to suck up all of the extra APR, and then when that dries up, they dump the token and all of the rewards for the next one. And this is yield farming. This is like an automated thing, and that really doesn't do the job of what yield farming is supposed to do, because you want to reward the people that believe, and you want them to stay there. Well, because that's boring, and I think a lot of people know me, I always want to do the next best thing. Currently, my belief is that the right way of doing this is through a thing called an option reward. And now what an option reward does is that it provides the same amount of reward, but it wraps it into an option NFT or an option vault that allows for you to actually exercise the option. You have to you actually put the actual payment in the into the NFT, and the NFT routes it to the DAO, and then it provides you the payment. What this does is it incentivizes the person that receives the reward to stay around because they were just received the value, and they actually invested in the future of that DAO. The cool thing is that we plan on making this an open protocol, so that any ASA creator can do the same thing. So they can provide option rewards to incentivize the people to keep their token. And the side benefit of this is it adds extra liquidity, option liquidities, so that we can build a derivatives market on top of Humble. So once again, it's all alpha. We're still in the process of planning this, but the only way we can get to world domination is to actually really push the envelope and see what we can do with decentralized finance.
Yeah, I really appreciate that the derivatives is part of the roadmap because I think that's a big part of the space that's lacking right now, and a big part of the space that, if it came on board, would actually bring about a lot more institutional investing.
Right.
A lot of the big money. Go for
Let's
it.
be honest. Like swapping is boring. Like you can make a quick swap and now you hold this other token, but how do you hedge your bets? How do you hedge your bets that I have this huge bag here? What if what do I do? How do I protect myself if it goes down? And this is actually one of the things that, because we want to make this decentralized, we don't want a centralized solution to this because we believe in the P2P nature of blockchain. So doing this all in a way is difficult. It's because also we're so early. So there's a lot of variables that we need to think about to make sure that we provide the right product for everybody.
Makes complete sense to me. So, Reach is blockchain agnostic. So, what other blockchains, and of course, HumbleSwap intends to be a multi-chain DEX. So, what other blockchains does HumbleSwap intend to migrate to next?
Well, the answer to that is yes. The Algorand is, of course, our launchpad. Yep. We will, stay here, figure it out, work with the Algorand community to build the best product. But we don't look at it as like we were going to be on one more chain. Our plan is to be on every single chain that Reach allows us to be on, and because the future is a multi-chain world. You heard me say this. You've heard Algorand say this. This is not a secret. I believe that the future of blockchain will be many different types of chains, but not many different types of the same chain, but many different chains that offer different features. And we want to make sure that we have a DeFi solution for all of them.
Of course, yeah, I agree. Even if it's not, some of these main chains we see today, there's going to be a lot of companies that want their own blockchains that a lot of these blockchains will have to interact with. So some level of interoperability is, literally a necessity in reality. So, of course, I appreciate that answer. I do have a question about cross-chain swapping, though, actually. How would it work?
Sure.
Would I be able to, say you launch next on Cardano, would I be able to swap Algorand for Cardano or an ASA for, whatever Cardano token, I wish?
Yeah, so how it'll work first is we're going to launch on multiple chains. Once my gut feeling, once this might change, is that once we're on 3 different chains and have a solid liquidity on all of them all, we then start, they will all have a different interface. You'll have a drop down. You can choose which chain you want to do the swap on. But once we have actually on 3, we'll start working on the cross chain swaps. And that's when we integrate all of the interfaces into one and be able to provide all of the coins on all of the or all the tokens on all the chains and be able to swap in between them. The swaps we currently believe in is the state proof system. Of course, it's still early and there's still working a lot, but I believe in decentralized bridges. But of course, we also have a partnership with AlgoMint. So AlgoMint is using Reach to build out their V2. And hopefully, because of their doing that, they'll be also bridged to many different chains. So there's also that direction.
Awesome. And did you have anything to add, Sandeep? I didn't know.
I think Chris covered everything. Yeah.
Chris is really good about doing that. So with so many different DEXs in the system, is there a concern that there might be fractured liquidity across the space?
And what space?
Across Algorand specifically currently, because, I believe we're going to have, 5 or 6 different DEXs. Some of them are having an easier time than others to get liquidity onto their platform.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is when there's $1 trillion of TVL on Algorand, there'll be plenty of space to go around. Yep. So sure, yes, we are early. Yes, the actual bridges are being made, but we're not playing the short game here. We're playing the game where we believe that DeFi will be bigger than Fi or CFi. And we don't plan on competing with the other exchanges on Algorand or even the other exchanges in blockchain in general. We plan on competing eventually with the JP Morgans of the world. because that is where we believe that blockchain deserves to be. And I know this is what gets me out of bed every morning to keep pushing that envelope and making that happen.
Yeah.
Of
JT,
course.
to add on that, even if you look at the history of finance, so when New York Stock Exchange was founded in like 1792, right? It just started by 24 brokers or 24 people or men, right? So today, as I don't remember now the exact number now, but I remember 2018, I think it was somewhere around, market cap was somewhere around 30 trillion for New York Stock Exchange alone, right? So it's exactly like that. If you look at things long term, right now you may say Algorand it's only has 5 billion or $6 billion worth of market cap, but it's gonna definitely grow, right? That's where it's community plays a very big role. So so just looking into that in mind and from long term perspective, we I don't think so. I don't see that, but I mean, it will be like an issue. It's like a fractured,
Yeah.
PVL, and you're just getting a little bit. And especially in crypto, we have seen so many bull and bearish run, right? There's a time, if 2017, if you look at that ICO market, right, means the same day. When I was a circle, I have seen like at Polonics. I mean, there are days our volume is so high, right, like hundreds of millions of dollars, but then in bearish market, it does drop,
Yeah.
which is obvious. And it's just exactly the way our personal portfolios are. In bull market, our portfolio is different. And bearish market, if it dropped 40%, 50%, 60%. So it's exactly that way. So yeah, I just want to add that what Chris said. So it's a long-term play, not just looking into short-term and worrying about liquidity too much. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, long term, that makes complete sense. Is seemingly an endless amount of money in the world. So, of course, long term, as long as the project is successful, there likely will not be an issue on that end. But short term, I do think we'll likely see a little bit of fracturing depending on which one is providing the best rewards at the time. People might migrate from one to another. But of course that's okay because it's a free market. So I've of course been guilty of migrating to whichever app is giving me the better rewards. So I can't say I'm not guilty. But I do have a question now with the Tinyman exploit that I'm sure many people are aware of. What is your thoughts on upgradable smart contracts or maybe like any emergency backdoors to the smart contract?
You're setting me up, JT.
I am not.
You're setting me up. I have strong beliefs about this. I do not believe in emergency backdoors or anything of that or upgradable contracts because that is literally putting a backdoor and centralizing a product. You are putting the responsibility. I mean, and sure you might trust, like maybe even you do trust the actual developers a bit, but do you trust that they won't be hacked? Do you trust that they won't be phished? Do you trust that they won't be social engineered? Do you trust that somebody won't take their knees or kidnap them and threaten to bust their knees? Like, to me, a contract that has a backdoor or has an upgradable contract is not DeFi, it's CeFi.
Fair enough. I mean, we'll I guess leave it at that. And on to limit orders. I realize that is your next agenda on the DEX. Is that correct?
It's going to be either that or it's going to be the extra the special options reward system. It really depends on what the actual demand is. But limit orders, I think, is actually very important because not everybody is willing to sit there and wait for their proper price to be able to trade, and they want to be able to do it. And the problem with limit orders, or actually doing an order book DEX, is that it is very difficult to do appropriately without tons and tons of liquidity or tons and tons of market makers to make that market. So what we do is we are building the limit orders on top of the existing AMM swap. So what allows for is that it is you can think of it as a pre-trade, or where you say these are the parameters of the trade. And it goes into a queue and allows for anybody to be able to activate that trade when the market hits where you need to do. This both allows for much better type of system on a decentralized finance, and it provides another revenue model for people to to be able to work in DeFi.
Of course. I mean, I've done a lot of trading in my life. In fact, we just spoke about the 2017 ICO market, which I was a part of, and unfortunately rode that all the way
You
down
poor
pretty
thing.
much. Yeah, it was my first go around in the crypto space, which is, you live and learn for sure. But that being said, I got into trading and whatnot, and since then, part of the reason I use centralized exchanges still here and there, not as much as I used to, but is basically because of some of those intricate trading features, such as limit orders, stop losses. Some of the even just the tools, being able to put trend lines on the chart and so forth is pretty significant.
So if you want a little bit more alpha, this is actually alpha that I've never talked about, I think, before on camera. So here it comes. So stop losses are difficult because if you know what somebody's stop loss is, you can game that system. So, but we have, and because of how blockchain is, and if you want to do something in a decentralized way, the question is, how do you do that appropriately? How do you put that type of trade on the blockchain? Well, we have a plan. One of the actual grand plans of Reach, because Reach has never been just a development tool or just a programming language. Reach is a full-blown operating system, a platform. And yes, right now we're making it easy for developers to build blockchain applications, to bring all the developers in. Next, we'll commercialize that to make it so that developers can have more tools, that the more successful ones or the enterprises can be able to pay for that. But the final step is the end user monetization. And how we do that is through a console cartridge business model. And why I'm talking about this is that this will allow for automation. This will allow for sandbox automation, so you would be able to put in different parameters of a trade that nobody would be able to see, but you would trust that they would be enabled and actually activated without you having to be there. And that is the grand plan of Reach. The one that's the multiple tier, the final tier is being able to have end user automation in a private way.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and I really think that I appreciate they gave the consideration to the fact that stop losses do sound pretty hard. I actually didn't think about the fact that your transaction would be on the blockchain. It'd be really easy to game that system. So I do appreciate that you put some consideration into that. I heard you mention even before on this show and in plenty of other shows that the goal of HumbleSwap is to be, competing with centralized finance, the JP Morgans of the world. So how does HumbleSwap get there? I know it's a very big question, but
So tomorrow, no, it's good. It's a big challenge, and the proper process is starting with locally building up the algorand space, making sure that we don't necessarily compete with the other decentralized finance, but build each other up to bring a much larger market to the algorand. Once we have a solid foundation there, we do the same thing on other chains, and then once we do is we build an entire DeFi platform that is cross-chain. We now are dealing with over the entire DeFi market, the TVL, not just what's on Algorand. Once we do that, by then, we will help the overall blockchain be adopted by mainstream. And as that grows, the size of the entire crypto market will hopefully start to be able to rival the CeFi market. And the reason why it's going to grow is because there's a research paper out there called Some Simple Economics of Blockchain. It's my favorite research paper. Everybody watching this should read it. And it talks about what the true value of blockchain is. And what the true value of blockchain is it lowers the cost of verification. And when you can lower the cost of verification, what you can do then is you lower the overhead of trades or finance in general. And when DeFi becomes as trusted as CeFi, CeFi won't be able to compete because it requires people, it requires servers, it requires everything. So when you have an equal playing field from DeFi to CeFi, there's no chance for CeFi.
I love that answer. And are there plans for any fiat onboarding or offboarding for HumbleSwap?
Yeah, I mean, so we were going to be not with us directly, but work with the Wire, work with MoonPay, work with other producers that or applications that do this. As much as I you hear Reach doing XYZ, we can't do everything. So we want to make sure that we partner with the right people to help us with that.
Of course, of course. So when does HumbleSwap plan to launch? Or at least launch on mainnet? I know you're on testnet right now.
I'll give you that one, Sandeep. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So we are planning to launch this month, and we have our Reach Summit from March 18th to March 20th, which is in Austin. So we will be launching a product on that summit there. Yeah. So it's coming very soon. Yeah.
That's exciting. And how soon after launch will the DAO be incorporated?
My goal is to launch a full on-chain DAO by end of May, early June.
And would that be the same time that you launch the token, or are you going to launch the token with the DEX itself?
You can't launch a token unless it has utility. So we want to make sure that we launch the DAO with the token, because the token is a governance token, and you need to be able to govern, so you need the DAO.
Perfect. And how will I'm sure you can't answer too many of these questions, but how will the token distribution happen?
We don't have that answer yet, but it'll be amazing.
It'll be amazing. All right, that's what we like to hear. So I've gone through the bulk of my questions, so I've got a couple of these questions starred up over here. So let's take a whack at some of the community questions.
Sure.
All right. Here we have Robbie asking, how do you feel about launching new products in this incredibly down market and uncertain times?
Winter's for building.
I like that answer. I like that answer. We should
And I
move.
want to add on that actually.
Of course.
Because being in crypto for so many years, I've seen so many bearish markets. So there were like 2015 long winter, 2015, 16, like literally for so long. All I want to say is actually this time when it's down, it's literally like that's the time you really focus more on your product.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think, yeah, short answer Chris gave, like, yes, it's for builders. That's what it is. So yeah, I just want to
like I have also been in crypto for a very long time, and I like the only thing a winter does is kills bad products. We're not a bad product, so I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, what's the saying goes? I mean, you kind of see who's swimming naked in these times for sure.
Yeah.
Right, like we have a runway that will last for years, so we're completely fine.
Perfect. And we have Algorand Governors Club. We touched on yield farming a little bit, but he's asking, can Chris talk about any projects Humble has lined up for the yield farming later this year?
So, okay, can we talk about this? I'm going to anyway. So we are in the process right now of working with as many ASA creators as we possibly can, from the popular ones, the non-scam ones, to be able to provide them a way to provide extra bonuses for their liquidity. And because Humble is really made for the people, is made for all of us, and the Algorand community is all of us, and we want to make sure that they are part of this launch. So if you are an ASA creator and you are watching this and you haven't talked to us yet, shame on us for not reaching out to you, but please hit us up. Not me, because I'm not the right person, but Sandeep. Hit Sandeep up wherever she is on your screen.
Perfect. And let's see, we've got Andrew asking, what sort of incentive or reasons does one have to use HumbleSwap over other AMMs like Tinyman or even the AlgoFi DEX?
I would say that the building with Reach makes things exponentially safer. I mean, I don't think it's actually, Sandeep mentioned it, but I'm going to really drive this home, that our audit had zero warning, zero anything on it. I passed it to DG from Borderless. He's one of the investors in HumbleSwap, because he asked for it.
Oh, I think Chris connection.
Oh, Chris froze on us. All right. Well, hopefully he comes back soon, but let's, Sandeep, could you pick up where he left off potentially?
Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
We did it. Awesome.
All right. So I said.
Oh, we lost him.
Nope, he's back again.
What's happening right now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
We're having a lot of technical difficulties today, it seems.
Restream is rugging me, everybody. They
We
don't
are
want
being rugged.
the alpha.
I feel like we're on a Twitter space right now.
I know. So what I was saying, safety is the big reason. And if you as a user actually care about safety, then Reach is by far the best place to go.
Perfect answer. I appreciate that answer. And let's see. We've got another question here asking, what are projects building on Algorand and not using Reach missing out on? And is it easy to integrate Reach if the project is already deployed?
So number one, they're missing out on safety for their users. That's a big issue to me. I'm a very big proponent of making sure that our users aren't losing money. Hopefully more people understand this. Other than that, like the speed of development is so much faster, so much easier. It's so much easier to hire people. There's really zero downside. It doesn't even cost money. So like the main thing that anybody out there needs to ask is, why are you not using Reach? And see what they say. But to actually answer the question, is it easy to integrate Reach if the project is already deployed? Yes, it's actually easy to deploy Reach anytime. It's actually most likely faster to stop what you're building, go spend and learn Reach, and rewrite everything in Reach than to actually finish your project. XBacked actually did this. They started building their project in PyTeal. They decided, hey, let's take just a 2-week sprint to learn Reach and see if we like that instead. They spent the 2 weeks and actually finished the prototype by the end and completely dropped everything that they previously did. So, like, really drive home. Ask the application developers that are building applications on Algorand or anywhere, why are you not using Reach?
That's a great answer. And you mentioned XBacked, and I am very excited for the XBacked platform. I also spoke to Austin about his project. I've used the testnet, and it's really just a exciting time for the Algorand community, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Let's see. We have next on our list. Does Reach have a bug bounty program?
We will. As soon as we release, there's going to be a room for that. There's a lot of smart people in the world, and we want to make sure that those smart people are doing the right things instead of the wrong things by stealing everybody's money. So as much as I say that Reach is a better way of developing, or a better, safer way, it's the same way that wearing a seatbelt with airbags is a safer way to drive a car. If you run straight headfirst into a brick wall, you might still get hurt. So yeah, we believe in bug bounties.
Awesome. And we've mentioned DAOs a little bit today, but how about Sandeep takes this one? What decisions will a DAO be able to influence?
So I'm going to actually, Chris going to add more on that. So all I want to say when we talk about DAO, I mean, it's not anything that first thing is, it's not like any decision is not owned by us at all. It's all decentralized, and community, they will have all the rights, and they will have, voting power, and then they will, like literally, like their decision will influence all the decisions. So yeah, Chris can add more on that.
So that's a great point, Sandeep. So how it'll work is that it'll be a proposal-based system. So number one, yes, you'll be able to tweak the dials of fees and everything like that. But also, it'll be anybody that has we have that part of the governance token can create proposals and say, I want to do this next thing, and I want this much. Oh
no, we're getting rugged again.
Yeah.
Come back to us, Chris. Come back to us. All right, Sandeep. We'll just move on to the next question until hopefully Chris comes back. Sure. And this next question is, are there any plans to incorporate AI trading products on Humble's DeFi suite?
Not right now. Not right now on our roadmap, but it's not something we won't consider. So right now, the answer is no.
Perfect. And is there a white paper currently out or any documentation on its tokenomics?
Not right now. We haven't released it publicly, and it's something we are working on. as a team. So once we have this ready, we will be publishing it and it will be available for everyone.
Perfect. And let's see, what else do we have here? We have Algo Gator asking, does Humble need a securities license to issue commodity contracts? Oh, that's a good question.
Right now, I'm going to pass on that because I do not want to give lots of information that we haven't made like final decisions. So I know like Chris was the right person who could have answered this.
Totally fair. Maybe we'll circle back if he finds his way back into this
Yeah. So
into this conversation.
when he's
Let,
back, then we will. You can ask.
of course, and let's see. And this last one right here is, can you include some swipe actions to remind? Oh, I don't actually, never mind. That doesn't seem relevant to the conversation. Awesome. Well, it looks like we cleared up all the questions in the chat. If we missed any of them, just drop them in the chat real quick. And I appreciate you answering all these questions, Sandeep.
Thanks, JD. Yeah.
Of course. Hopefully Chris makes it back before we end. Oh, look at this. He did it. I summoned him.
Correct.
Back.
They're back again. I keep seeing on my end your internet connection goes from like 10 out of 10 to like 0 out of 10.
Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So any last question before they rug me again?
I think we got through the questions. Sandeep picked up where you left off and we finished them off, but we, I guess have one more from Market Maker right here. When Moon. No, I'm just kidding.
When Moon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually,
thank you, buddy.
This looks like a good question. A little, not necessarily about HumbleSwap itself, but Al Grand Governors Club is asking both of you, are there any good book recommendations you have?
I prefer anything by Brandon Sanderson. He's an amazing author. I'm guessing it was a general question because not blockchain specific, mainly because blockchain is so new and moves so fast. By the time somebody writes a book about it, it's already old. Yeah. So, go read some nice fiction. Brandon Sanderson is amazing.
Perfect. And let's leave this on a light note. How about you, Sandeep?
Well, these days, about crypto or blockchain, I echo what Chris said. One of the real, if, somebody is very extremely new and they don't know anything at all about Bitcoin or crypto, I think very first book that was published by Princeton University in 2016, it's a kind of technical book, but that's a very basic if somebody's getting into crypto now, and that's only a technical book, not anything, other than that. It's a Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. It's I just know it's Princeton University, so that's something you can consider. But outside blockchain crypto, I personally like reading neuroscience, and that's what I'm reading right now. But I can't recommend any books on that. That's my personal choice.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome, and that's a great note to leave off on.
I recommend Crypto Twitter.
Crypto Twitter. Sometimes you got to step away from crypto Twitter too. It's always good to get outside, everybody. But on that note, it's a perfect note to leave off on. I appreciate both of you to coming on the show and talking about your product and answering all of my questions and everyone else's questions.
Yeah. Thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, JT.
Thanks everyone for participating and giving us a chance to answer your questions. Thank you.
Wait, and I will say all of the questions that were asked that we did not answer, I am always here for you. Like, shoot me a DM, shoot me whatever, jump in my Twitter spaces. Let's be a community.
Oh, Chris, before you get rugged again, I actually do have to ask, how did I do with my goal of trying to ask you at least one question you haven't been asked before?
You did it. You nailed it.
Perfect. Awesome. I did.
Nailed it.
Success. All right, cool.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, JT.
I'm proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, take care, Sandeep and Chris. I appreciate coming on, and good luck on the launch.
Thank you. Yeah, already perfect.
Take care.
Okay.
All right, everyone. I appreciate you staying to the end and, listening to that conversation with Chris and Sandeep. I'm personally pretty excited about HumbleSwap. I know plenty of other people are pretty excited about HumbleSwap. And we'll just leave it at that. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one. I have a handful more interviews coming up, and you don't want to miss them. So we'll catch you next one. Thanks.